All right, welcome today to everybody to today's Lunch and Learn session. I'm Steve Mahoney. I'm mentor of the Greater Hartford chapter of SCORE. I'm with Kathleen Thompson and El Kowal. Today is part 3 of our 5-part Startup School series. This is all about marketing and sales. Kathleen, take it away.
Thanks, Steve. We're going to start with a little bit of a review. Whether you came to the first 2 sessions or not, it's always helpful to remind ourselves of where we left off because this is a series. So we had 2 people, Sarah Blue and Homer, I forget his last name. And they both wanted to start a business. Sarah loves pets and has a few pets herself. During COVID, she thought of starting a pet-related side business and eventually turning it full-time. She looked at a bunch of options and she decided to focus on pet food. But not just any pet food, her own make-at-home pet food kits. And she wanted to make them out of healthy ingredients that you would recognize when you open the package. And so she decided to call her business Possum Palette. Next, she did research, market research, to determine if there's a strong enough market for this product. And she ended up with a positioning statement that sounded something like this. Possum Palette is for dog owners who care about the quality of their pet food and are willing to pay a premium for health-conscious options. The product is a customized fresh pet food delivery service and offers nutritional pet food kits with quality ingredients specifically designed for your pet. And there was more if you came to the second session, and check out the replay if you didn't. So she added this information as well as the market size analysis that she did to her business plan. Now, as a reminder for those who were there, and as to let you know for those who weren't, that in session 2, Elle talked about TAM, which is total available market, SAM, which is serviceable available market, and SOM, which is serviceable obtainable market. And so the TAM for Sarah was the total number of US households with dogs. The SAM was dog households with enough income to pay premium prices for dog food and who also care about all natural food. And the SOM is what percentage of the SAM, which is serviceable available market, that Sarah could realistically expect to capture via marketing and also service at her size business. And generally, we used about 0.5% as a rule of thumb for the first 1 to 2 years, and that is if you're good at marketing. So then we had Homer. Homer loves to help people, and he's really good at it because he's a caring person. So he looks at who do I want to help, and what's their problem, and how can I address that? And again, after some work to define his strengths and his skills and what's out there in the market, he decides that he wants to do a home-based personal care service. But there's a twist. He wants it both for body and for mind because Homer is a part-time teacher. And so he talks to other teachers about their frustrations, trying to find the right person to help assist with their older parents with personal tasks, and also keeping their minds active when they're stuck at home. And so he decides to combine the two, and he names his business Brainy Home Companions. Now, both of these businesses are totally made up. Our team made them up, made up the whole story. These people aren't real. None of it's real. So Homer, just like Sarah, does market research and a positioning statement. And he says, Brainy Home Companions is for homebound individuals or their loved ones who need companionship and care and enjoy brain-stimulating activities. Brainy Home Companions is a personal comfort care company that offers compassionate companionship, a lot of C's there, and home care services. And we include brain-stimulating activities and exercises to ensure that your body and mind are well cared for. And again, Homer did market size research and added the positioning information along with the market research to his business plan. And in his case, his TAM was the number of residents in Connecticut who are 65 or older, the percentage of those who are over 65 who need in-home services and who prefer in-home care and seek brain stimulation activities. And then his sum was what percentage of that group of people that he could realistically expect to capture via marketing and also manage to service at his size. So we got all that out of the way. That's all happened already. So we're assuming that that's happened for you as well in your business. So what comes after that? Well, now what both of them would do would be product development, which isn't going to be covered by this workshop, but it's important to note. Sarah would be testing recipes, sourcing ingredients, figuring out how much it's going to cost, figuring out how to price it, how to deliver, how to set up the ordering and payment capabilities. Homer is going to test a whole bunch of different games and activities and develop a menu of options for both physical and mental care. And he's going to do some field testing. So there's a lot in there that needs to be done before you start marketing. And so for purposes of today, we're going to assume Sarah and Homer have done all that and that you have too. And so that they and you are ready to sell your product. And that's where marketing comes in. So now it's time for everyone to sell. But there's a problem. We call it the Great Divide. And it could be a big problem because you are ready to sell, but people aren't necessarily ready to buy, or they're not necessarily ready to buy from you. They have to want to buy from you. And there's often a great leap between the two. And so the question is why is that? Well, here's the thing. You see the world like this because it's your business. So to you, it's so important. Your mission is so important. You've been working a lot of time on this. So to you, your business is in the center and everything radiates out from there. You kind of say to yourself, and we all do this, I have this great solution. Everyone in my target market could totally use this. It can help solve world hunger, world peace, or at least you have a healthy dog and a happy dad. It's kind of like, if I build it, they will come. And in our naivete, we often think that's the case. But here's the thing. This is the customer's view. They're inside their own bubble. They're going along in their life, not necessarily looking to change anything. Or even if they are looking to change something, or say they are, they're sometimes not willing to do what it takes to make the change they want. I'm sure we've all experienced that in our own life. So sometimes they pretend they don't care, even when they actually do. Or maybe they really do care, but they don't care about you. They only care enough to get what they want for the cheapest price or in the most convenient way. So in that case, they're going to go to Walmart or Amazon or Home Depot or somebody huge and just get it done. So the question is how do you burst through inside this person's bubble? And how can you possibly compete with those big people? Well, you can't compete on price, and you usually can't compete on speed. So, because when people use, if I, as a consumer, are using price or speed as the benchmark for making a decision about something that I'm going to purchase, that means I'm treating it like a commodity. Like any version will be fine as long as it doesn't have a 2-star review. And so I'm going to just look to see what I can get for the cheapest price, the fastest. Because people don't care about commodities, like say, I don't know, like say paper that you're going to put in your printer. How many of us care what brand that is? We just like, okay, great, I can get it by tomorrow. Awesome. We just kind of say, once I've decided on a version that I like enough, I'm going to buy it because it's easy and cheap. And so they just call it the regular kind. I'm just going to take the regular kind because that's what I do every time. I always buy the same Colgate. So when you come along with your business, and by the little red dot, is completely outside of their line of sight. It does not penetrate their bubble. And so marketing and sales is all about how to get inside the bubble. And it's not by assuming that that's a stone and you're just going to throw it super hard and try to break the bubble. It's not by turning that circle into a pointy object to do the same thing and try to pierce through the bubble. And interestingly enough, it's also not by talking all about you or your product. The more you do that, the less likely you are to penetrate their bubble. Because marketing at its core is about communication and connection with other people. It's not really about selling people things, even though that is the natural outcome of marketing. Because by definition, marketing is helping a specific group of people solve a problem they know they have and are actively seeking for a solution. So in this case, we're going to assume that the person in the bubble is looking out into the horizon trying to find a solution, and they just haven't found one yet. Seth Godin says this: people don't want what you make, they want what it will do for them. And that's something you want to remember throughout this workshop and throughout the life of your business. People don't buy what you're selling, they buy the results of what you're selling. And so everything that we do that's associated with selling is marketing of some kind. It's either brand marketing that builds people's awareness and trust of you, or it's sales marketing, which is where the transaction occurs. So what we want to do is make sure that you don't confuse the two or try to do them at the same time. You want them to be separate from each other, because if you try to mix them all at once, it won't work and you'll wonder why it doesn't work. So how do you do it? How do you get inside the bubble or force field? And since we're already talking about force fields, I decided to use the word force to help you learn how to market, even though you'll find that there's nothing forced about this form of marketing. All right, so here's what force stands for. You can see the words to the right of the letters, and that's what we're going to cover now. So the first F is focus on the three F's. The three F's are facts, feelings, and fun. The more of those three F's you include, the better your marketing will be. The more you feel something and encourage other people to feel something, and the more you have fun, the better your marketing will be. People do not buy based on facts. They include facts, but they do not buy based on facts. The second thing, offering solutions, means help people solve a problem they know they have and are actively trying to solve, even if what you're selling is a luxury good. Because the problem with that you can articulate is the problem of status, and we're going to get into that in a little while. So the more clear you can be about who it is you want to help and how you help them solve their problem, the better your marketing will be. And you've already heard this in the last session, and you've probably done some work here if you saw that session. But this is the kind of thing that you're going to constantly be refining until you get to something that really resonates with people. So you're going to refine not only your messaging, but also potentially your offering, to make sure that it really solves a problem for people. And the third R is rooting for the customer, is a reminder that your business is your business, but it's not about you, it's about them, the customer. They are the hero of the story. If you're making a movie or writing a book, they are the hero and you are the guide to get them where they want to go. C is to remind us to be generous, to give generously to the network of people you know, to the industry in which you're a part, because people choose to work with people they know, like, and trust. And there's such a lack of trust in today's world, and rightly so, because a lot of people just seem to be around to maybe rip other people off. And so you want to be the person who is willing to give a lot of yourself, whether it be the way you do customer service, whether it be information, whether it be a small sample of your product, whatever it is, you want to be as generous as you possibly can, because trust is hard to come by and you want to build that as much as you possibly can. What you want to do is think of this like any other relationship you have in your life. Psychologists tell us that for a relationship that we have with another person to be considered as positive, there needs to be 5-to-1 positive interactions to 1 negative interaction. So in other words, if I'm the manager of somebody, or I'm the spouse of somebody, or a parent of somebody, if I criticize them more than 1 out of 5 times, the person will perceive the relationship that we have as negative. And the same is true here. If you try to sell more than 20% of the time, you will be perceived as salesy and annoying. Whereas if the rest of the time you are giving generously, you will be perceived as someone who's helpful. Now, the E's, there are 2 E's here: empathy and escalating tension. And you need both of those for your marketing and ultimately your sales to be successful. You need empathy so people know that you understand what they're going through. But you also need to make sure that you put tension into the process so they don't feel comfortable just sitting there not doing anything. Because as you know, many of us will choose to not take action because it's hard for us to take action. It's hard for us to change something. It's hard for us to do something. And so what you want to do is help them choose to do something. So tension without empathy is manipulation. Empathy without tension is you're basically their counselor, and you don't want to be either one, so you want both. So great. Now you say, well, what do I do? It's great to know how to think and all. It's great to know what FOR stands for, but what are the actual steps? So what we're going to do is talk about them in more detail and practice this at the same time by looking how to market Possum Palette and Brainy Home Companions. And this is called a brand script. What you would be doing is building a script as to how you are going to build your brand and market your brand and ultimately sell. And then you're going to put it in your business plan. All right. So we want to define the problem. We got Sarah, Possum Palette. Now, we already said that the customer cares about pet food quality and they're willing to pay a premium for health-conscious options. But why? Why is that? Because if it's only for status, if it's only because, oh, I want to look totally cool because I have the most new form of dog food on the market, it might not be that compelling for them unless they have a staff of people who can put the food together. Because keep in mind, it's a kit, right? So they have to do some work here. So we want to talk about the problem. So let's talk about the problems that this customer might be experiencing right now. One, they might notice that their dog hasn't been acting the same. Maybe the dog is hyperactive or more so than most others. Maybe the dog is scratching and they can't find a reason. Maybe it's acting like it has allergies of some kind. Or another thing that they might have noticed is, look, I changed my family's diet to clean whole foods, and now I'm picking up the label on my dog food and going, what the heck's in this stuff anyway? And so maybe I want to really look at getting a better alternative for my dog. Or third, maybe they're wondering where these ingredients come from. How far did they travel to get to Sarah's state, or maybe even into the country? And so they're concerned about the environmental impacts of transporting ingredients from all over the world to make dog food that's out of we don't know what. So the kind of problems that they might say out loud are, I'd really like to keep my dog healthy so she lives a good, long, and happy life. And I don't want to feed her the equivalent of dog junk food. Where can I find food that I know I can trust without making it myself? But I mean, I barely have enough time to make my own food, never mind dog food from scratch. So now what do I do? So that kind of a problem that they have just articulated is called the external problem. That is what they say the problem is. But now we want to dig deeper, because usually there's an internal problem, which is, how does this problem make the dog owners feel? They might feel frustrated that they can't find what they're looking for. Even the expensive, supposedly healthy brands have ingredients like soy in them, and I don't want that. And who knows where it comes from or if it's GMO. So they might also be feeling anxious because their children love this dog. And this dog has grown up with them and they want her to live forever. And we all know that dogs don't live forever, but we'd like to postpone the dog's life as long as possible. They also might feel shame, like they're a bad parent who can't care for this pet that they love so much. So there's all kinds of ways that this problem could make them feel, and you want to tap into that. And now it goes even potentially one step deeper, and that is the existential problem. Something systemic in the culture that's broken or in need of fixing. So you might call it the mission or the purpose or the just cause behind your business. Now, fixing the dog food problem probably isn't going to solve the entire existential problem of how the system works, but it will at least help. So in this case, it might be something like, is the food industry in this country poisoning us and our pets just to make a buck? I don't know how many of you might feel that way. Maybe you don't, maybe you do. But those are the kinds of questions that your potential customer might be asking about how things work in general that are frustrating to them. So what you would do is you would identify the problems at these 3 levels and write it down. And then take all that you could think of associated with Sarah's potential customer, turn it into an opening paragraph on a sales page, on the landing page of your website, on your social media posts, your about page when you explain how your business got started. You can talk about the existential problem that exists and how you are here to try to help that. You could also turn this into an email campaign by starting with the external and working your way to the existential. You can also make sure that you bring these things up in conversations in real life. When you talked about, several of you have already done networking, this is the kind of networking that can be really helpful. So here's an example of what I mean for Sarah and her business Possum Palette. Are you tired of feeling like a bad pet parent because you can't find wholesome, trustworthy dog food for your furry family member? Do frustration and anxiety grip you as you navigate through a sea of questionable ingredients and unpronounceable additives, wondering if you're unknowingly harming your beloved pet? Your kids are growing up eating real food, and you want the same for your dog, and you wonder if it's even possible. So now you can clearly see how defining the problem and the magnitude of the problem just went through, gee, I'd really like to have healthy food for my dog, to, is it even possible to get healthy food for a dog? It helps people to see themselves. It helps people to go, oh my gosh, Sarah is totally reading my mind. How did she know I was thinking that? I didn't even know I was thinking that. I kind of half knew I was thinking that, but I never put it into words like that. If you can get people to feel what they already feel, and you can put it into language that they haven't been able to articulate, that is a way to pierce that force field. If you don't, they won't care. They'll be like, oh, it's another person selling me another thing. But if you do, it's like you're reading their mind. And so you're going to use facts, but you're also going to use feelings, and you also can use fun. So, when you talk about the problem like this, you're already showing that you have empathy, that you have facts, that you're showing the feelings, and you're also showing that you're rooting for the customer, which was the R in force. There's still no solution described. There's still no contribution. You've just gotten some of it underway. So now let's do it for Homer. Customers need home care. Okay, great. Kind of nebulous, whatever. But now we think about the external problem for Homer's customers. They're saying, I can't find good people to help, either myself or my parent or my partner, with light work. It could be cooking or laundry or dressing or cleaning and organizing. But I also want someone who's going to care about my or my parents' intellectual and creative self, because they're a whole person. I don't want that person to be forgotten. I want someone to keep them interested in the outside world or the world of history or literature or music. So that's the problem they're going to say out loud if you talk to them. But then there's an internal problem. It's crushing to watch my loved one shrivel up inside just because their legs don't work anymore. It's demoralizing to see them treated as if they're stupid just because their body is failing them. And then there's the systemic problem or the existential problem. It feels like our society just puts older or sick people out to pasture as if they don't have any value. Is there any way to help our loved ones feel valued and treasured when they can't do what they used to do? So again, turn that into an opening paragraph and you get something like this. Are you struggling to find compassionate, thorough home care for your loved ones that goes beyond mere tasks, that truly nurtures their mind and soul? The endless search for caregivers who don't just rush through their duties, but also engage your family members in stimulating activities leaves you feeling depleted. Witnessing your cherished ones fade within themselves due to physical limitations weighs heavily on your heart. How can you ensure that your aging or sick relatives receive the holistic, attentive care they deserve, nurturing body and mind with genuine human connection? Now, both of those paragraphs for Sarah and for Homer started with questions, but it doesn't have to be questions. You could start with statements like, the struggle to find compassionate, thorough, and holistic home care for your loved ones can feel never-ending. So you don't have to ask questions, but sometimes there are questions are a way to kind of soften it a little. So it's up to you. If you like declarative sentences, use sentences. And if you like questions, ask questions. So, okay, now that everyone's feeling awful, now that you got them to feel the awfulness that they already were feeling but didn't know how to express, we obviously don't want to leave them there. And remember, you're not saying anything that isn't true. You're not making it up. You're not exaggerating it. You're just stating what you know they already feel but haven't been able to put into words. And that's why marketing needs to be specific, because that is what reaches people. So don't forget, it's not about you, it's about the customer. They're the hero. You are the guide, and you are rooting for them to succeed. So how do you come across looking this way? Well, we already focused on the problem, not your solution. We didn't just jump into the solution. But now you want to show them that you not only understand how they feel, but you also have the capacity to help them solve their problem. That's part two. One, you understand how they feel and you put it into words. And two, you're helping them solve their problem because you are qualified to be their guide. You're not going to solve their problem for them. You're going to help them solve their problem. So you already showed empathy by demonstrating you were speaking their language. And also that when you described the internal problem, which was how they felt, and you went deeper, if you managed to find an existential problem that describes how they're feeling even deeper down, like they're worried that they can't solve the problem because it goes so deep. The fact that you were able to articulate the problem so much more than they could is the first clue to them that you have the authority to be their guide, because you have thought about this problem for longer than they have. So even though they may be experiencing the pain of it now, you have either personally experienced this pain, which is why you're trying to help them through it, or you've seen it in other people enough and it bothers you enough that you took the time to do the research. And that's going to go a long way. So now what you want to do is turn their problem, start turning the corner, and turn it into a goal or a vision for their lives, so that they go, oh, I see where we're going now, to show that you know what they want and that you know how to guide them to, we'll call it the promised land. And that's how you're going to show authority. So for example, possum palate, here's the goal. You want the best, most wholesome food you can buy for your pet. And you're even willing to make it yourself so you know exactly what's in it. And it has to fit into your crazy busy schedule. And it even has to be something that the kids could do, because they're supposed to be responsible for the dog. So that's a whole, you just said, whoa, if I could have all that, I would, where do I sign on the dotted line, right? Because I just solved my problem and didn't make a bigger problem for myself. Oh my gosh, I got to make all this food. And then you're going to show authority by saying, we at Possum Palette have figured out a way to blend the perfect combination of science, technology, and irresistible flavors to provide fresh, customized pet food. We tested it not only with our own pets, but on hundreds of others to make sure it delivered on our requirements. Because after all, we're pretty demanding when it comes to feeding our dogs too, just like you. See the difference? We got the goal articulated, and now we got, I have the authority. I, Sarah, have the authority. Now I'm Homer, Brainy Home Companions. And now I'm articulating the goal of my clients. You want your homebound loved one to be safe, cared for, and cared about. You want to see the light of enthusiasm back in their eyes as they shared their wisdom, talked about Shakespeare, read poetry together, listened to great jazz, or played Scrabble. And now the authority. We had teachers and psychologists help us create a flexible program to spend time with your loved one in a way that helps them feel alive again, engaged with the world around them. We've tested it with people in our community, tweaking it based on their feedback. We've seen people come alive again as they spent time with their companionist, a word I made up, as they are reminded of their infinite worth as the unique person they are, no matter what the physical challenges they may be experiencing. So that was empathy, rooting for the customer and starting to offer solutions by articulating the goal. All right, so now it's time to offer the customer a plan, to demonstrate you have a plan. And it says on the screen, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3, because what you want to do is you want to show them a simple plan to move forward. Even if you know that it's going to take 2,000 steps to get where they really want to go, the plan has to be simple sounding. So you want to make it easy by 3 steps. And all that is the next things that happen. It's not to get to the goal. It's 3 steps to do next. So for example, possum palette. Fill out the information about your dog. Get 1 to 2 personalized options for food kits to start with. 2, place an order. 3, your fresh food kit is delivered within 4 days. 1, 2, 3. Brainy Home Companions. 1, tell us about your loved one in the online form and schedule a free consultation. 2, we'll talk and together create a custom companion plan. 3, we'll get started right away. They all know that the actual results have to follow that, but it's good for them to know that it's easy to get started and things will start changing. All right, now we got to get to tension, because tension is where sales comes in. Marketing was all that stuff, talking about the customer, their problem, et cetera, et cetera. But now you got to sell something eventually, and that's where tension comes in. So what creates tension? I talked about it before, but I didn't tell you how to do it. Things that create tension are urgency, scarcity, and high stakes. So what you want to do is choose what's appropriate for you and your business, depending on what it is. Now, I want to tell you, urgency and scarcity are very effective. And if you overuse them, people will feel manipulated and they will not like it. If you always have countdowns, oh, this discount's only available for 24 hours, and you do that every other week, people get very annoyed. However, if you use no urgency and no scarcity, then people will not feel compelled to act unless the stakes are high enough. And again, you want to raise the stakes or their awareness of the stakes, but you do not want to artificially inflate the stakes. For example, you do not want to make it seem like if your customer does not buy your dog food, that they won't live for more than a week. That's clearly ridiculous. And that's raising the stakes to a ridiculous point. So you want to make sure that whatever you do here to create tension is not manipulating in any way, shape, or form. You have to be truthful and make sure you use the tools you have available to you to encourage people who want to act to actually take the action and overcome the natural resistance that we all have. So you want to make sure that whatever you do fits the style of your business and also fits your customer's profile, and it also fits you, your personality. Because if you choose danger, warning, and that's not your personality, it's going to come across as just being weird, where some people are kind of dramatic anyway. And so if they said certain things, it would be in keeping with their personality. So you've got to filter all of this through your business, your customer, and your own personality. So for example, with Possum Palette, I might say, I'm going to offer a coupon for X% off the first order as long as they do it this week, because this might never happen again. And then you definitely don't want to offer those same customers another option and say that might never happen again. You also could offer a bonus product for the first 25 people who order. So let's say you put a post on Instagram or Facebook or someplace and you go, yeah, I got a brand new product, and the first 25 people who order from me, I'll give you a bonus. And it's only for today. You also could raise the stakes by reminding them that we really don't know what's in those brand name dog foods. And do we really know what the quote natural flavors are? And what is potassium chloride anyway? And is turkey bone good for them or not? How could we inadvertently potentially be poisoning our pets with these chemicals that we don't know what they are? And then remind them of how great their dog's going to feel when they're not having an inflammatory response to the dog food. Similar with Brainy Home Companions. You could offer a discount on the first session if they book this week and prepay. You could limit the available slots and show them getting filled, which is scarcity. And you could also cite statistics of how many homebound seniors are depressed and how different it is with regular interactions with people and stimulating discussion, all of which are true. None of it is made up. All right. So now, if the customer's problem is the battle that they're facing, it helps if the entire army who's going to fight this battle is headed in the same direction. And so this is where a clear call to action is warranted every single time you have one. You do not want to give people 4 choices of things to do. Preferably you give them one choice of things to do, which is going to be the most likely thing that they would do next. This is often where people fall down. 1, they've got too many choices, or 2, it's not clear. They try to make it cute and creative, and the customer doesn't know what they're supposed to do actually, because they didn't use really simple words. So what you want to ask yourself the question is, anytime you have something, whether it be an email, whether it be a post, whether it be your website, what is the next action that you want the right kind of customer to take when they land on whatever it is they see, whether it be an advertisement or an email or whatever? because it's not always selling right away. If it's a product that's not too expensive, it might be selling right away. If it's a service like Brainy Home Companions, it's not going to be book 5 appointments, because people are going to be a little cautious before they book a service like that. So it depends on what it is. So we'll go through this one at a time. So Possum Palette. In the upper right-hand corner of the home page of the website is the call to action button, Get Started. And then once they click that button, you would have a screen, a page underneath that, giving them the details of what Get Started means, which would be that 1, 2, 3 plan thing, and then a way for them to either book their first order or whatever. Another option might be get your food plan, start now, order today, order here, all very clear. The other thing is you want this repeated more than one time. So assuming this is your website, you got it in the upper right-hand corner, and then you've got some stuff in the middle where I have clear call to action, and then you'd have another banner somewhere underneath that's not too far down that said, now that they read some stuff about you and your business, get started, book a free consultation, or whatever it happens to be. So you don't want to only have one place where you have it. You want to have multiple places. So however far they get and they've read more and they go, ooh, I'm ready now. I wasn't ready when I first got on the website, but I was intrigued and I kept reading, and now I'm at the bottom or I'm halfway down the page. You want to have these ability to do this multiple places on your website, on the page, and also in an email, same situation. So Brainy Home Companions, it might be more like, let's talk, book a free call to discuss what I would do for you, or it might be a free guide that explains how to find the right companion in exchange for their email, something like that. So clear call to action. And now it's like, all right, so I got my script, I know what I'm going to say, I have a clear call to action, but now what do I do? So now you want to boil it all down to this. A tagline or a slogan. Possum Palette, after many attempts, after I went through that whole script, I came up with a tagline, Fuel for Happy Paws. Brainy Home Companions is mindful care with heartfelt connections. So you want to think about the colors you choose, about the slogans you use, that it all supports your business's mission, with the reminder that it's about results and the customer and not about you per se. And reminder that the more you can use facts and feelings and fun, the more successful you will be with your marketing. So you want to think about which is your strongest voice, and that's what you're going to naturally gravitate toward. And then how can you incorporate the others into what you say? All right, let's talk about finding people. In real life, often if you are providing a service, your best bet to get started is in real life in some way. Because as you probably have found out, social media is a long game. And unless you've been practicing social media and have a lot of followers already, it can be challenging. And especially with a service where the price is higher, people are going to gravitate toward people that they know and trust. And so the more you can find people in real life, wherever you go, and you may have to go places you normally don't go to find them, but you want to strike up conversations. And what you want to do is just strike up normal conversations and only bring your business in when it's appropriate, because you want to remember it's about them and not about you. You don't want to just go up to people and start right away in about your business. Because remember, it's that 5-to-1 ratio for a positive relationship. So you want to not breach that if you can help it. Online, there's all kinds of places that you can find people online, whether it be you become a guest on someone's podcast, you can interview other people and be interviewed yourself, and there are online forums. You can have a blog either on your own website or on someplace like Medium, or oh gosh, the other one just escaped me and it's super popular. Anyway, I'll think of it by the time the Q&A rolls around. There's all kinds of ways you can do it online, but you want to remember that ratio of 5:1, and where you want to insert as much friends as fun and feelings as possible. So some of the ways that you can find people or engage with people when in real life, for example, and online. Possum palette, you can give out samples. You can scale up the sample idea by having a booth at a pet fair. You can join some pet forums, or you could have a YouTube pet food cooking show. Try to say that 5 times fast. Brainy Home Companions could come up with or find branded brain games that people could play together and give them away. You can have heartwarming stories with older people in them and post them on social media. A podcast with interviews of older people. And you could demonstrate games at live events at a library or senior center. Because these are the kinds of things that if people love it, they will tell their friends and they will become your marketing for you. All right, so that having been said, there are all kinds of resources, and I'm going to just scroll ahead here. There are all kinds of resources available to you, and this will be in your handout for today's session. And every one of these contains links with more information that on the topics that I've given you today, and then some that we didn't have time to cover. So if you want to study more about marketing, these are really good tools that have been vetted already by me. And I have had to learn marketing the hard way. This is not something that I naturally gravitate toward or even like. So this is me learning by studying and studying and studying and studying. And so these things are ones that have worked for me and I've found very helpful. And so I offer them to you. And so with that, we will turn it over to questions.
All right, great. Thanks, Kathleen. Elle's going to man the Q&A session here, but I just wanted to remind everybody, if you have any questions, you can please put them in the Q&A box and we'll go through what we have. And as we do that, I'm going to launch a brief poll to ask you if you are interested in getting a SCORE mentor. If you are interested in that, please answer the question that way, and I will send you an email later today on how to do that. Elle, I'll turn it over to you.
Perfect. Okay, so first question was early in the presentation, and I think you went through and explained it pretty clearly since then. But the question is, can you explain the empathy and tension combination again? But so anything else you want to add to that? Because I know a lot of the presentation was around that piece.
Yes. Let's talk about empathy and tension with respect to something that isn't necessarily, you wouldn't think of as a problem, because that might be where people might be struggling a little bit. For example, if you sell coaching services, I'll just use that as an example, because a lot of people would like to be coaches. People don't often know why they would want a coach or why they would need a coach or feel like they need a coach. So, but they might sense that there's some kind of situation in their life that's a little bit nebulous, like they would like to strive for something greater than where they're at today. So in that case, what you want to do is try to articulate what that might be. And generally, the more specific it is, the better. So if you just say life coaching in general, that's a little harder. But say you could coach somebody who takes steps and then they find themselves shooting themselves in the foot. So what you'd want to do is show empathy, that you know what it feels like to do that, because maybe you've done that yourself. Maybe you found yourself stepping out and taking all kinds of actions, and then all of a sudden you just put the brakes on and go, well, why did I just do that? So what empathy does is it shows that you understand what it's like to feel that frustration of, oh, I get so far and then I just stop myself, or I lose 10 pounds and then I gain 8 back. You know, those kinds of things that the empathy shows you understand how they feel, you've been in their position, and you know what it feels like, and you've articulated it so well. And then the tension's going to be, well, what are the stakes if this doesn't get resolved? And, or what is the issue with not resolving it? And so the creating tension is saying, hey, listen, you could go the rest of your life and keep doing that 4 steps forward, 3 steps back, and you're going to have the net 1. Or you could have 4 steps forward and 1 step back, and you'd have a net 3. So it's helping people see this, what happens if they succeed, how awesome it is, and how bad it is if they don't. Perfect. And the contrast between the two.
All right, so the next question is from Mary. So she said, with the concept of give generously, like you discussed, the 5-to-1 ratio, what are good ways to transition from giving generously or for free to selling for money?
What you want to do is, let's just use social media posts as an example, because it's or let's use email. So let's say you got somebody to sign up for your email list because you gave them something, a quiz or whatever. So somebody signed up for your email list, and so now you say, oh, I'm going to have they call it a drip campaign for new email list subscribers. I'm going to send them 5 emails or 6 emails. And so what you'd do is you'd say, email number 1, thank you so much for signing up for my email list. I'm so glad you took my guide, you got my guide on whatever it is, whatever the giveaway was. And I hope you're getting value out of it. I'm sure you're getting value out of this. Do you have, the first one would be like, pick a point that was in the guide, maybe expand on it a little more and say, I just wanted to draw your attention to this one aspect of what was in the thing that I sent you. And if you have any questions about that topic, feel free to email me. The next email might be about another point that was in the thing that you gave them for free. And the same basic thing. So, and you can always have, with email, you can have a PS way at the bottom if you want my whatever, but you don't have to. But it would be way at the bottom after they read the whole email, with all the give. Oh, by the way, I have this thing. But generally you wouldn't. And then you would do that for 3 or 4, for 4 or 5. And then the last, and the second to the last one, you can start to weave in, oh, by the way, I do have this program that you can buy if you're struggling to implement this yourself. And then by the last one, it's a flat out sales email. There is no branding anymore. It's just a flat out sales email that's talking about the stakes, that's showing empathy, that's really driving the point home. You could keep living like this if you want to, or you could keep feeding your dog the food you've been feeding them all along, or you could do this, and here's how you can get it, and here's my offer. 10% off, the stuff I said. If you're doing it on social media, you never want to mix the two because you don't have enough space. So in social media, you'd want a post that's helpful, a post that's helpful, a post that's funny, a post that makes you feel something, a video about the pet, whatever. And then boom, I have this for sale. But not just I have this for sale. Here's the problem. Here's my solution. Here's what you do. Click here. Hopefully that's helpful. And if you have follow-up question, feel free to type it. What else we got?
Steve, there's one here about getting the handouts, the information after the session.
Yeah, so we'll send an email tomorrow with a link to this recording, as well as a copy of Kathleen's presentation, as well as links to sign up for the last 2 classes if you haven't done that already.
Okay. Perfect. And then there's one from an anonymous attendee. It says, can you give more on the TAM and SAM and how it's used as an example in coaching service?
I would suggest going and watching the video from the session number 2, which is on our YouTube channel. When you get the replay link for this session, the other one is in the same playlist on our YouTube channel as this one. So once you've gotten to this video, you'll be able to get to the others, no problem, because Elle does a great job of explaining how that works and running through it very clearly. And that would probably be more helpful to you than me trying to explain it quickly here.
I think that worked. And just, it's going to be important to think about, just like the examples that Kathleen ran through, is who your target audience is. So it isn't just anyone who needs coaching service, right? But like, what type of person? Is it a working woman? Is it, you know, somebody that left the workforce and is wanting to go back to work, and identifying that. So then you can start to understand the qualifiers and build out who that target audience and how big that market might be. Okay, perfect. So then Terrence is asking, on a business card, is it better to list a phone number or an email? Because I don't have room for both.
Oh boy. I think probably email. It depends on what it is, though. If
Like
it's
the
a
type of business, you
personalized
mean?
thing, if it's a personalized thing that's very personal between you and the person, like this Brainy Home Companions thing, I might do phone. But the difference is, I'd tend toward email for the simple reason that I might be somewhere where I can't talk on the phone, but I could answer an email. And so I would heavily lean toward that.
But I would question, right, why you don't have room for both. That seems strange to me.
I would too. And to me, one of the biggest things that should be on your business card is a QR code leading to your website.
Yeah, great.
Because
great
on
idea.
your website would be your email and your phone.
Yep. Yeah, because some people don't want to talk on the phone, right? And they would really just want to send an email, and others want to talk to somebody. So I think giving people that choice for how they want to connect is important.
Yeah.
Okay, John is asking, specific to my LinkedIn presence, should I have a single presence for me and my sole proprietorship, my LLC, or should there be two? I'm a data science consultant, and I expect 30 to 50% of my projects to come in from gig work.
Boy, this is so hard to answer. And the reason is because when I go to the LinkedIn experts, they say different things from each other, which is really annoying. So it's hard for me to answer. Many of them will tell you should have two separate things, two separate profiles, one personal and one for the name of your business. Generally, I think that's true. Part of the problem with that is that, as you know, all of these social media channels degrade the content of the people, of businesses, and don't so much with individuals because they want businesses to pay. So there's two things that I would suggest to do to try and beef up your visibility on LinkedIn when you create the two profiles. One, have a publication underneath your business, and because people can subscribe to that publication, and if they do subscribe to it, they will actually get an email notification from LinkedIn whenever you publish a new article there, or I wanted to call it episode because I'm so used to podcasting, but magazine issue, whenever you have a new issue. And the second thing I would say is publicize that publication using your personal profile. So whenever you have a new one, that you use your personal profile and say, go check over here for my newest article on whatever, whatever, whatever. And that way you're more likely to get your personal people. But what you want to do is make sure when you do that, that you're giving them some value in the post itself too, because otherwise LinkedIn will deprecate that as well. So if it seems like you're just not trying to keep people within the LinkedIn ecosystem, they're going to, not like it. So if you create a professional page for your business, create a publication and encourage people to subscribe to it. And thirdly, promote that from your personal page and cross-pollinate between the two regularly so that people who are your personal connections are more likely to see your other stuff. That gives you a better shot at having people see your business one. And Elle, I don't know if you have any other suggestions.
No, I agree. It's tough. And those algorithms sort of are built to force people to be in LinkedIn longer and to not go outside of it to somebody else's website, things like that. So it certainly can be difficult. I do think it also depends on how big your existing LinkedIn network is. If you have a strong LinkedIn network, you want to be able to populate that to your page. So you want to use your personal page to push people to subscribe to your business page. So I think there's some things to think about, but what I agree with what Kathleen said and sort of how to cross-pollinate that the best.
And a couple of other suggestions that can be helpful with other platforms as well. One is anytime you're posting anything, you want to keep people on the platform. So example, if you have a YouTube channel and that's your primary channel and you go to Facebook and you write a post and you go, check out my newest YouTube video, and you have a link to the YouTube video in your post, Facebook will be like, eh. So what you want to do in that case is, if you really want people to go to LinkedIn or you really want people to go to your website, you do not put it in the post. You put some valuable information in the post itself and you put it in the comments. So you would do the same thing with LinkedIn. If you're going to send people out of LinkedIn, you're best off having a clip of the video on LinkedIn or a clip of the video on Facebook, and then in the first comment that you pin to the top, that's where you put the link. Want to see the rest of this video, go over here, and it's really on YouTube or it's on my website or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So Felicia is asking, she says she has a professional service pharmaceutical consulting business, and she's struggling to think of how to incorporate one of your F's, the fun, since it's so regulated of an industry. It's a tough.
Yeah. Yeah, think of it this way. Let's see, how do I say this? Is there something adjacent to what you do that could be funny? Well, there's a couple ways to think of it. Is there anything intrinsic to what you're saying that actually has a humorous side? Or can you find humor in unexpected ways? Like think about insurance, right? Like look at all these insurance companies. Insurance isn't fun. Insurance is boring, but they got the Geico thing and the guy with the prices and the guitar player, and they stage scenes that are hilarious. And so even though the subject of insurance is deadly serious, they've managed to find ways to have engaging people, like the State Farm guy and all that stuff. So that's one way of doing it, is find like a character that you can weave into that has a story that's funny, even though the subject isn't funny. Another thing to do is to take something that's adjacent. So for example, let's say part of your life is unrelated to your business, is you volunteer in some kind of way, like my sister volunteers to go take care of cats at a cat shelter. And so she's always posting cat pictures. Well, some of them are pretty hilarious. So if you have something that's fun or funny or heartwarming, that's something that you do that shows about how you're involved in the community. It's kind of a way to say, I'm a whole person. I don't just do this business because I really care about the world, and I care about the world so much that I'm volunteering over here. And oh, by the way, these videos are really cute. And so if you just kind of almost like look at it from a 360-degree perspective and say, is there anything I can find either about what I do or related to what I do or my life that I can weave into this thing and make it heartwarming and or funny? I can incorporate that in, and so it's not making the subject necessarily funny. I hope that helps.
Yeah, she said, great ideas. Thank you so much. And I think it's right. It's how do you show your authentic self while you're, promoting your business? And sometimes it's, directly related to what you're selling. And sometimes it isn't, but it shows you because that's your brand and who you are is also what you're selling.
Yes. So for example, if you were a coach, I know one of the people is a coach here. I often like to post things on my social media that are like me with epic fails because I like to experiment with cooking. I'll just try stuff and go, let's see if I swap out the banana for the pumpkin and see what happens. And sometimes it's awesome and sometimes it's a disaster. Well, I like to post the epic fails and I go epic fail number 1, epic fail number 2. Well, as a coach, you can totally use that as a teaching moment, right? So it can be funny and teach a lesson at the same time. So that's the kind of stuff you want to think about is how can I be me, be funny and humorous and a real human and somehow teach an object lesson or bring the point home at the same time. Do we have any more questions?
I have to watch your videos. And last one is just a comment. Kara said, thank you so much. Fabulous content. It's been very helpful. And I think that's all of our questions.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kathleen. Wonderful session today. Wanted to thank everybody for taking some time to join us and remind you that tomorrow you'll receive an email from SCORE with a link to today's recording, as well as a copy of Kathleen's presentation, as well as links to our last 2 classes. I will be back on Wednesday to talk about business financial management. Hopefully, I don't have any epic fails in my math. And then next Monday, Kathleen will be back to wrap us all up. So thanks again for joining today, and we'll see you all later in the week.